This is Dan Dix here, reporting for Press for Truth, and we got a lot of information to cover in today's video, my friends, so let's just jump right into it. You may recall that yesterday I put out this video, Move Over COVID-1984, Monkeypox is the new fear factor in town. Well, it didn't take very long for the World Health Organization to be now holding an emergency meeting today, on Friday, to discuss this monkeypox outbreak, and conveniently for them, this happens as they're about to meet in Davos anyways, to discuss this, strengthening WHO preparedness for and response to health emergencies. This is a proposal for amendments to the international health regulations, folks, where essentially individual nation states would relinquish their sovereignty over to the World Health Organization, who would then eventually basically have the right to tell your local government how it should deal with a future pandemic. And as you know, viewers of this channel will recall, I often point out how they play out these scenarios in sometimes exercises before they happen, and then we find out everything plays out exactly to a T as they described in their scenario. I pointed that out in this video last year, in March of 2020 actually. We need to talk about Event 201 and the COVID-19 Predictive Programming Campaign. And of course, this is when the WEF, along with Bill Gates and others, held this Event 201 that played out this fictional scenario of a global pandemic. And as we know, COVID-1984 hit right around the corner, and it played out to a T exactly as how this Event 201 imagined things. Well, now, folks, we're going to take a look at this, the NTI. This is the Nuclear Threat Initiative, which is a nonprofit, nonpartisan global security organization focused on reducing nuclear and biological threats imperiling humanity. Well, folks, they have just teamed up with the Munich Security Conference to conduct a tabletop exercise on reducing high-consequence biological threats. So this fictional exercise scenario portrayed a deadly global pandemic involving an unusual strain of monkeypox virus that first emerged in the fictional nation of Britannia and spread globally over 18 months. By the end of the exercise, the fictional pandemic resulted in more than 3 billion cases and 270 million fatalities worldwide, guys. And interestingly enough, they have their scenario here, and remember, this starts, they had this back in March of 2021, where they came up with this imaginary exercise, and back then, they imagined that this monkeypox outbreak would happen on, look at this, May 15th, 2022. And if we look at their scenario, we would see moving on into the end of December 2023, December 1st, 2023, the end of the year, there would be 3.2 billion cases with 271 million deaths. So we're going to take a look at this whole scenario outline, ladies and gentlemen. We're also looking at the fact that the World Health Organization seems to have changed their monkeypox fact sheet to be different. This is what it says on the left of what it used to say back in December of 2019, and on the right is what it now says as of May of 2022. For example, it used to say here, like, monkeypox typically presents clinical with fever, rash, and swollen lymph nodes, period. Now it says monkeypox typically presents clinical with fever, rash, and swollen lymph nodes, and may lead to a range of medical complications. So there already apparently seem to be changing this to make it seem worse than it is. And when you when we're talking about this scenario playing out in real life, folks, we got to look at this. It's in May 10th of 2023, so around this time next year, the scenario imagines that it would be revealed that a terrorist group was the origins of this virus, and that it was an infiltration of a civilian biolab. And the reason why I point that out is because we have to remember stories like this, guys. This woman who claimed she got sick after caring for a hissing monkey that escaped a truck in a Pennsylvania crash. Do you guys remember this? After a truckload of 100 lab monkeys crashed in Pennsylvania, a woman stopped her car to help. One of the monkeys did not appreciate her goodwill, hissed in her face, and now she's sick. And let's also not forget this story, ladies and gentlemen. Vials labeled smallpox were found by a lab worker cleaning a freezer in where? Pennsylvania. Once again, vials labeled smallpox were discovered at a Pennsylvania lab, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention said Wednesday. Very, very interesting that we are now saying this, as it has seems to have some similarities to this so-called fake scenario. So we're going to cover all of this, guys, and much, much more in this video. But before we do, I'd ask that you check me out right here at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. This is like a Patreon alternative. I've recently been kicked off Patreon. If you go there, it says this page is under review, but I'm actually suspended. I had over 300 patrons there, guys, and they just took all that away at the snap of a finger. So I'd appreciate it if you check me out here. It's a great Patreon alternative, Subscribestar. You can sign up for $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever is within your means. Again, I had over 300 patrons over there. I have 92 of you here on Subscribestar. It'd be great if we could get those numbers up today, guys. Please check out the links in the description below if you want to support my efforts on Subscribestar. All right, guys, so I want to start with this one because this is a pretty big mistake coming from the New York Times here as they issue a correction after wrongly reporting that 4,000 children have died from COVID-related conditions. Problem is, they didn't mean to say died, or maybe they did, but it was actually supposed to say diagnosed. Like, that's a huge, huge mistake. The New York Times issued a correction Thursday after falsely reporting the number of children who died from COVID-related conditions in a piece about the Center for Disease and Control and Prevention's recommending a third dose of vaccine to kids. So here they are trying to make the case to recommend a third dose for children. And in this piece, the Times Health and Science reporter declared that 4,000 children ages 5 to 11 died. But in reality, the number was that 4,000 children were diagnosed, not died. 4,000 kids were diagnosed with a coronavirus-related syndrome. I mean, it's very vague. It's not even close to what the piece was trying to suggest. But when you say 4,000 children between the ages of 5 and 11 died in an article like that, you can retract it, you can make corrections, but unfortunately the damage has already been done in the minds of the masses who already saw that, aren't going to see the correction, and are going to rush out and get their poor little kids jabbed for no good reason, guys. This is another point. Hey, Tony, relax, bud. Hey, come here. Sorry, guys. Doing this live on the fly, and my little guy's going crazy. Hey, you stop that now. Come here, Tony. This is 420 Tony. For anybody who wants to meet the guy who's causing the major interruptions in this very important broadcast. Thanks for that, pal. But all right, you're forgiven. Okay, guys. So yeah, you can't trust the mainstream media is obviously the point of this one. But let's get into the crux of the matter, because here's what they're saying now. The World Health Organization is holding an emergency meeting today to discuss this monkeypox outbreak. The World Health Organization is due to hold an emergency meeting to discuss the recent outbreak of monkeypox on Friday, a viral infection more common to West and Central Africa. More than 100 cases were confirmed or suspected in Europe. In what Germany describes as the largest outbreak in Europe, cases have now been confirmed in at least 5 countries: United Kingdom, Spain, Portugal, Germany, Italy, as well as the United States, Canada, and Australia. So they're really making the case that this is an important emergency meeting that needs to be held today to discuss this outbreak. But as I said, guys, this is coming at the same time of discussions over this global pandemic treaty, which essentially I was combing over some of it, and let me just scroll through here. I noticed under Article 12, I think it was in section 2, 3, and 5, we got a lot of troubling language here, and here. For example, if the Director General considers, based on an assessment under these regulations, that a potential or actual public health emergency of international concern is occurring, the Director General of the WHO shall notify all states parties and seek to consult with the state party in whose territories the event arises regarding this preliminary determination, and may, in accordance with the procedures set forth in Article 49, seek the views of the committee established under Article 48 of this hereon referred to as this emergency committee. So if the Director General determines that the event constitutes a public health emergency of international concern, The Director General shall, in accordance with the procedures set forth in Article 49, seek the views of the committee on appropriate recommendations. So, in a nutshell, they want to give the authority of your own local government into the hands of the Director General at the World Health Organization to be able to make decisions on how you would respond to a future scenario. And this is why it's troubling that the timing seems so sketchy now that we see this scenario. And we're going to look at the scenario as it plays out in their view, but let's just read the article, Strengthening Global Systems to Prevent and Respond to High Consequence Biological Threats. It says here, in March of 2021, NTI partnered with the Munich Security Conference to conduct a tabletop exercise on reducing high consequence biological threats. The exercise examined gaps in national and international biosecurity and pandemic preparedness architectures, exploring opportunities to improve prevention and response capabilities for high consequence biological events. Participants included 19 senior leaders and experts from across Africa, the Americas, Asia, and Europe, with decades of combined experience in public health, biotechnology, industry, international security, and philanthropy. So here's the summary. Developed in consultation with the technical and policy experts, this fictional exercise scenario portrayed a deadly global pandemic involving an unusual strain of monkeypox virus that first emerged in the fictional nation of Britannia, spread globally over 18 months. Ultimately, the exercise scenario revealed that the initial outbreak was caused by a terrorist attack using a pathogen engineered in a laboratory with inadequate biosafety and biosecurity provisions and weak oversight. By the end of the exercise, the fictional pandemic resulted in more than 3 billion cases and 270 million fatalities worldwide, guys. And here they have their findings, weak global detection, assessment, and warnings of pandemic risks, gaps in national level preparedness, gaps in biological research governance, insufficient financing of international preparedness for pandemics, and here's their recommendations. To bolster international systems for pandemic risk assessment, warning, and investigating outbreak origins, develop and institute national level triggers for early proactive pandemic response, establishing an international entity dedicated to reducing emerging biological risks associated with rapid technology advances. Interesting. Develop a Catholic Global Health Security Fund to accelerate pandemic preparedness capacity building in countries around the world. And finally, establish a robust international process to tackle the challenge of supply chain resilience. Well, isn't it interesting, ladies and gentlemen, that this scenario happens to be happening right when the World Health Organization and Bill Gates and the likes of all of them are meeting in Davos to discuss exactly that and to implement exactly that by signing on to this new treaty. And just right on cue, we have this scenario. As I said, they last year in March of 2021 imagined that a monkeypox outbreak would happen in May of 2022, and here we are. And if any of their other events like Event 201, we saw how that came out, right? Everything to a T is how it occurred with COVID-19. Well, hopefully this doesn't play out in real life as the way they're projecting either, because if you fast forward to around this time next year, 2023, we're going to see that it was revealed that a terrorist group was the origin of this. Took them a year to figure that out, apparently. And they infiltrated a civilian biolab, which is why I brought this to your attention, guys. And I think if this does have some weight to it, if this does carry out to play out as they imagine in real life, then in a year from now, maybe in May of 2023, the authorities will start to reveal that this did come from some sort of a terrorist, lab infiltration or something, and people may look back to what happened in Pennsylvania. Because as we see here, there was the smallpox vials that were found in a freezer in a Pennsylvania lab, not to mention this lady who saw a truckload of 100 lab monkeys just earlier this year, crashed in Pennsylvania. She stopped her car, got out, and one of the monkeys hissed in her face, and now Now she's sick. I think we may be revisiting these stories next year, as I said, should this scenario play out in real life. Now, again, you got to ask the questions as to why the World Health Organization seems to be changing the monkeypox facts sheet. And according to this legend here, it shows you what's been removed, what's been added, and what's been changed. And I'll leave links to this in the description so you can check it out for yourself. But, you know, it paints a pretty interesting picture about the fact that they're trying to make this, as I said in yesterday's video, the new fear factor in town. So crazy stuff, guys. Just wanted to bring all this to your attention. Interesting timing that they have this scenario last year. It imagined this case of monkeypox virus happening in literally May of 2022, and then right on cue, the WHO has to hold an emergency meeting because of a monkeypox outbreak right before they're about to announce this global pandemic treaty. I mean, it's just wild timing, guys. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Once again, if you appreciate my efforts to do so, don't forget to check me out here at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. Again, this is like a Patreon alternative where you can sign up for a monthly reoccurring contribution. And once again, thank you to these 92 people who are supporting me. It's because of you guys that I can continue to counter all this propaganda that you get from the mainstream and to sift through the madness and to bring you the truth of what's going on in the world, guys. So if you appreciate that, once again, don't forget to check the links in the description. And that's all for today, my friends. Just wanted to bring that to your attention. Don't forget to click that thumbs up button and share this one with your friends and family who you think need to see it the most. And stay tuned, my friends. We're going to have more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.